For joining another mscrm-addons webinar. Today we're going to be covering our Attachment Extractor tool for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Just a couple things of note. We do record these and they are made available to you who participated after the recording is processed and uploaded. We'll send you an email with a link and also send you a link for these slides that I'm going to be showing today. One other thing is that if you notice, there is a chat window down there in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, of your meeting burner screen. If you have any questions or anything like that while the webinar is going on, please feel free to just go ahead and ask those questions. I've got some other support team members in there that will be answering those. And at the end of the webinar, time permitting, we'll do a short question and answer session and answer any other questions that you can think of. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. I want to talk a little bit about attachments in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And mainly what that is basically CRM data storage versus SharePoint. So on the one side we have our CRM system. Attachments can be stored in CRM, and what we find is attachments that are stored inside of CRM, inside the database, basically take up usually about 70% of your storage in CRM. They're really hard to find and they're non-searchable. And if you're with CRM, using CRM Online, if you need some extra storage space, that's usually going to cost you about $9.99 per gig per month. On the other side of the picture, we have SharePoint, or like a file share. Well, basically SharePoint here is an advanced document library. It's basically made for storing your documents there. It can be associated to a CRM record via the CRM SharePoint integration. And it's really easy to search because it has the integrated search tools in it. Storage on that's usually going to run you around 20 cents per gig per month. Well, how do we get kind of the best of both worlds here? Mainly what we're going to use here is our tool Attachment Extractor here. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to move or copy the files to SharePoint or to a file share from CRM. What we've usually found with customers that are using the Attachment Extractor tool, that it shrinks their database by up to about 50%. With the tool you're able to actually replicate data and have it locally available to you. If you're using a file share, you can actually do the replication as well, which is really great if you just need to back your attachments up. And also gives you the ability to archive your data. One other thing that's very important, it can help you establish a structured library in SharePoint with use with your CRM there. Just a kind of a quick example here. Let's say if I have 50 gigs of additional storage in CRM, that's basically going to cost me $5,994, okay, total. With SharePoint, it's going to cost me $120. So if you can do the math, it's basically a total savings of $5,874 per year. It's kind of estimated there. So basically what that means is, by buying and purchasing the Attachment Extractor tool, we usually find that people, they've recouped those costs about 6 to 8 months into using the tool. So it's a really great way to kind of save you money. Basically how it works, all work is done by a service. So we have CRM up here and SharePoint here. That service can be running on either a local computer or a server. It can be running in a VM on the cloud. That VM can be hosted by us, or it can be hosted by yourself. Some of the tasks and features that Attachment Extractor includes, you have the ability to move or copy the file to the alternate storage, such as SharePoint or the file share. It places a link to extracted files inside of CRM, so there's no change to the CRM user interface there. And users can access all files as usual from within Dynamics CRM. This will make more sense once I kind of get into the demo there. I'll kind of show that to you. You have the ability to revert extractions for emails. You have a black and a white list. We're now including analytics in with the product. And you have the ability to schedule your services, so when that service is actually run, and several other features here. So in the live demonstration today, what we're going to kind of be focusing on is some of the new features here to the Attachment Extractor tool. This tool is going to be, the new version is going to be released today, the one that I'm going to be showing you today. It is going to be released today, and there's several major changes to it, I believe, such as a new UI setup. It's a lot easier to kind of get around and understand where things go. You have a real easy SharePoint setup. No, that's been kind of a pain point before. You have the ability to kind of speed up the extraction process, and we'll kind of go into that in the demo as well. And the analytics there, which is something that a lot of you guys have kind of wanted here with this tool. Also, what I'm going to be doing is showing you kind of how to set up a service, how to easily set that up. Basically, we're going to be setting up one to speed up the extraction process. We're going to also set it to where the service is going to run at its maximum speed, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Also going to configure the service to run on weekends as well, show you guys how to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to flip on over into the demo system here. So I have my demonstration system up, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Attachment Extractor Service Manager. Now this is basically where you manage and configure all your services to be run. So now I've got one here that's running. It's just basically called Standard Service, so I'll click on it to bring that up. I've got so a lot of information in here. Most of this I'll go over again when I create the new service. But a couple things of note here. Now I've got my CRM connection set up. We're going from CRM to my storage option, which is going to be to SharePoint, and then my integration with SharePoint, how I'm going to set that folder structure up and everything like that. And I'll go over those shortly. The extraction here, basically I'm telling it exactly what I wanted to do here, what I wanted to extract. And then I have my runtime here. So this actual service here, it's going to run on weekdays, Monday through Friday, basically all day from Monday night at midnight till Friday night at 11:59. So it'll run during those times only. Saturday and Sunday, it's not going to be running. So you can actually schedule these things just like I've done here. The other major thing here, and this is just kind of a new feature just to kind of show you here, is our analytics. This is something, like I said before, you got a lot of people have kind of wanted this. So we decided to kind of put this into the product here. You can see here basically the service progress here. Basically tells you how long the service has been active for, how many annotations and emails have been processed, and the total number of attachments that have been processed. It also gives you the data that's already been transferred out of your CRM system to the storage, either SharePoint or the file share. Another nice thing is getting CRM data analysis here. I can actually click these checkboxes here to actually see what I want, whether that be on emails or annotations or what have you. And then I can go ahead and run my analytics, and it comes back and lets me know, hey, the total amount of emails here, I've got 2,196 of them. I've got 22,000 some odd notes here. I've got the email attachment count, how many attachments are actually attached to the emails, and the size here in megabytes here. Also got the note attachment size total here, the emails that need to be processed here, and the notes that need to be finished up processing here, and notes having attachments. So I've got all that at a quick glance. So it's real easy to kind of see and just to kind of know what's going on in your system. So with that being said, what I want to do is kind of flip over here to SharePoint and kind of show you. So I've got the interaction here between SharePoint and CRM. And what I want to do is just kind of show you here basically what these look like. So you can see a lot of these were just modified a couple minutes ago. So as the thing's running, it's automatically putting this stuff in here. So I'll just open up here to Contact and open up My Contact. So this is basically an attachment here that's been extracted roughly around 3 hours ago. It lets me know, hey, that this attachment was extracted from an entity. So we actually pull in metadata from CRM to actually give you a general idea of where this stuff's actually coming from. Another nice thing is we have a nice CRM link back here. I can open this up here inside, inside right from SharePoint, or I can actually go to the record. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up here in another tab. Go ahead and bring that up. It just comes up in just a moment here. So I've got this particular email here. And as you can see over here, I've got my attachments. So here is the attachment. Now, before this was extracted, the name of this attachment was called products_pdf.pdf. After we extract it, we basically replace that file with this little URL link here. It links back to the location in SharePoint. So if I'm just a user and I'm using this and I say I want to open up this attachment here, basically all I need to do is click on it as normal. Go ahead and open it up, save it, and then I can open it up and actually see, see the attachment. I never have to kind of zip on over to SharePoint. I automatically just get it immediately. So your users are never going to kind of know the difference on where it's coming from. So that's a nice little thing there. So with that being said, I kind of want to move on here and show you kind of how to set up a service here. So I'm going to flip back over here. I'm going to set up basically now. So I've got the standard service. It's like I said before, it's running on weekdays. But let's say, for example, on the weekends, I want to create basically another service that's going to run at full capacity. Okay, so just as fast as it can go. One thing to see here, as you can see now here, the batch size of this, I process 50 emails or 50 annotations at one time. One thing that a lot of new users to Attachment Extractor kind of don't understand is that we can't automatically go in and see, like for example, if an email has a attachment or not. We have to physically kind of look at all those emails. So this is why if you want to kind of speed up the process, you want to kind of set up a service like this. So I'm just going to call this service. I just need to give it here a name. So fast. There we go. It's a fast service. I just need to verify that. Now, one thing here, this is kind of important. Debugging. This is kind of new. If you used the tool before, you'll know that you always have to enter a log file path in. Now it automatically does that for you. You can change the location of this log file path if you want to. When creating a new service, we automatically activate debugging on this. A reason being, and we suggest that you kind of leave this like this, is because let's say you run into a small issue or something that we need to look into. You can automatically go ahead and send us the logs. You don't have to stop the service, activate debugging, and then let it run for a couple of hours and generate logs. You can already go ahead and send us those logs. So it kind of saves in the troubleshooting process. So go ahead and leave that active until you're comfortable with the way that the service is working, and then you can just go ahead and deactivate it there. Next here in the general settings, I've got my minimum attachment size. Usually recommend 10K is about what I usually recommend. The minimum that you can go down to is 2K. So, and you can also either specify kilobytes or megabytes as well. Block file extensions, these are pretty standard here. Standard things that you do not want to extract, such as Visual Basic Scripts, etc. You can add to this if you want to. Just go ahead and put in the semicolon and add the extension to block. The next thing is your CRM data processing here. Basically here we have two different things that you can do. You can either copy, which would be replication. All the data stays inside of CRM but gets replicated to SharePoint or FileShare. Easy way to back those things up. Or you can move, which is what most people want to do. They want to get that stuff out of CRM and onto that alternate storage location. So in this case, we're going to move. Here, you can change the batch size around, but in this case, there's a setting that I'm going to set, so I don't need to really change that right now. But you can change this batch size if you want to run. If you want to process more, you can up this, or process less. You can do that as well. Everything else just pretty much needs to remain the same here. you can actually set up here, you know, what kind of emails you want to process. Usually the defaults are the best. You know, you don't want to be processing emails in draft or emails that are pending send. You don't want to be, because it'll strip the attachment out before the email even gets sent out. So you don't want to do that. So usually complete, received, and sent is the best way to go. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is move on over to my CRM Connection setup. If you've ever used one of our products before, you know this step here. This is pretty standard. This is how we connect to CRM. So for me, I've got an on-premise system. I just need to come up here and grab my CRM URL here. So just go ahead and grab that, and then I'll flip back over to my service here. Go ahead and paste that in. Need to go ahead and put in my credentials here. So let's see, I am admin, this TRA administrator, then my domain, and then my password here. After I'm done entering that in, I'm just going to retrieve all my organizations here. And did I spell something wrong? So you got to concentrate. There we go. It helps if I spell things correctly. So then after I retrieve all orgs, you know, I'm going to get this information back here, the organizations that I have. This account does need to have administrative access to the CRM system. So it can be either an administrative user or a service account with admin rights and everything. So once I'm done with that, I'll select my org and then go ahead and click OK. And then it lets me know that I've connected to my CRM organization. So after I'm done with that, I'm ready to go on to my next step, which would be my storage options. For my storage option here, I can use a file share or SharePoint. In this particular case, I'm going to use SharePoint. Now, this is where I say, you know, the ease of actually putting in your SharePoint information. Before it was a little bit clunky. We did know that. So here we kind of wanted to change this a little bit around here. So basically here what I need to do is just put in my SharePoint server URL here. And that would be all the way to my document library here. So it would be CRM documents, this particular one right here. So I'll just copy that right on out. Close that up and paste it right in. It's already got my username in there for me. So all I need to do is go ahead and enter in my password here. And everything looks all right. So I'll go ahead and say connect to SharePoint. So it goes ahead and makes that SharePoint connection. Now this down below here is some debugging information. If you have any kind of issues or anything like that connecting to SharePoint, you know, if you're going to go ahead and email us at support, go ahead and you know, copy this information out and send it on to us. Okay. That's going to help us, again, in the troubleshooting process, just to make that a lot quicker. So once I've put in my SharePoint URL, all I need to do is select the library where I'm going to actually be putting these documents here. I'm going to kind of make this the same as the standard service here, so I'm going to be throwing this into the documents library here. Excuse me. And once I'm finished with that, I'm finished with this part of the process. So I'll go ahead and save the service configuration. Now this, it basically asks you if you want to do the folder in a weekly structure. You can go ahead and change the option later. Okay, so you know, you can change it, so you just want to go ahead and click yes here. All right. So it just takes a brief moment here. Well, I say that, but it takes it a few seconds here to kind of set the service up. And just kind of doing all that in the background. And then once we have that up and going, it's going to appear right down there in the Inactive Services. So it just takes just a second here. All right, great. So I've got my service here. All I need to do now is kind of click on the service. Let me just move on over to here. And get the right service there. Great. So now I have, you know, I've already gone through the first three here. Now the next tab that I want to go on to is my integration. Now this is important here, a couple of things here. This other CRM options, the activate, revert, extraction in emails. What this does for you is, let's say for example here, I've got an email that I need to forward to somebody that's about 2 weeks old, so the attachment's already been extracted from it. I have a little button there where I can say revert the extraction. It will then take that file from SharePoint or from the file share and reinsert it back into CRM, and then you're able to forward that on to whoever you need to with the attachment in there. So you're not forwarding some SharePoint URL or something along those lines. Our SharePoint integration is really easy to do. It uses the internal document management, the SharePoint integration with CRM. In order to enable it, all I need to do is check the box for my SharePoint integration. I'm going to allow it to create those locations on SharePoint, so anything that's not been created in SharePoint is going to create those folders for me automatically based on what I've set up with my document management inside of CRM. And I'm going to create the locations with a GUID suffix if I'd like. If you want to get rid of that GUID, as you saw, you can uncheck that and it'll just be just the names, etc. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to move on here to my extraction. Now these two are very similar. One just covers email and one covers notes. So I'll go over those kind of one at a time. Basically what I can do is I can index the attachment. That will make it to where I'm able to use the SharePoint search engine there to kind of search for these attachments inside of SharePoint. I can also index the email body or the note body. So if there's something like if you want to be able to index those things into SharePoint to where you're able to search for a particular email with a particular attachment, you can do that as well. And lastly is update changes. So if a note or an email or something like that gets changed after the extraction has already been done, it's going to update those changes, whether it's to the indexing or to the email body. It'll update those on SharePoint or the file share. The other piece here is only process if the email is older than, younger than. This gives me the ability actually to kind of like delay the extraction process. So let's say if I wanted to only process emails that were older than 2 days, just go ahead and put in 48 hours here. And then it wouldn't, if the email, that way that the email stays in the system with the attachment attached to it for 2 days before it gets extracted. And then lastly, I can apply that delay to the created on date or the modified date. I can apply it to either or. In this next little section here, I have the ability here to do a weekly or a daily folder. If I'm not using the SharePoint integration, this is your only other option that you can have. So basically any emails that, if I have it set to weekly, any emails that were created that week and the attachments were extracted, it would be extracted into a weekly folder or into that daily folder. Most people here are going to use the SharePoint integration, but this would work out for, like, say, a file share or something along those lines. I can remove my email tags from the body. So if I'm indexing the email body, want to remove those HTML tags, I go ahead and click that button. These last two little entries here, this is basically our blacklist and whitelist here. Basically anything, any entity, the schema name of any entity in here will not be looked at to extract files from. One good example of this is, say, if you're using another one of our add-ons called Documents Core Pack. It's used to create templates. Those templates are stored in CRM, and then you can merge that that data from CRM into these templates, and it gives you a document. Well, since these templates are stored in an annotation field inside of CRM, we don't want those to be extracted. If those were extracted, Documents Core Pack wouldn't work. So we definitely want to exclude that entity from being looked at to have things extracted from it. So you can add things here. You can add whatever entities you want to. You can also just like make it to where, like, for example, you just are concerned with things in accounts. So you can just say, I want just accounts, and that's all I want to look at, and that's all I want to extract things from. You can include that in the whitelist. So here you can use kind of like a combination of both. Next is our runtime. Now this is when it really gets kind of interesting here. If you remember, basically what I want to do here is set up a service that's going to run on Saturday and Sunday. Or you can set it up to be off business hours. It's going to run at maximum speed, basically. All I need to do here is go ahead and select those 2 days, and then lastly check this little box, do not throttle during active periods. Basically what this is going to do for you here is that once this service kind of kicks off, it is going to run at the maximum speed. The maximum is roughly, if you remember back here on the General tab, I've got a batch size here. The maximum is 5,000. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm telling it, hey, I want you to look at 5,000 emails and annotations. I want you to process those all, and I want you to keep going and don't stop. Okay. Naturally, the processing of 5,000 emails does take some time. You basically need to understand that it does take up a lot of system resources. So we highly recommend that if you're going to do this way, make sure that you do have, you can do it with a minimal amount of resources. It's just not going to process those emails as fast as it possibly can. If I have more RAM, if I have, like, say, for example, 4 gigs as compared to 16 gigs of RAM, with 16 gigs of RAM, I'm going to process this thing a whole lot quicker. It's because I have more memory to kind of work with here. That's something that you can kind of set up. So I've set this up now for Saturday and Sunday, and it's going to be throttling there. It's not going to be throttled. So I'm done kind of setting up this service. So basically all I need to do is save my service configuration here. And this just kind of takes a brief moment here to save, as we're making changes to the actual service itself. Okay, so the service configuration is saved, and now all I need to do is start the service. And it just takes, so it lets you know here, you've chosen to move the data out of CRM. We're very, we like to ask a lot of questions with this tool. So I'll just go ahead and say yes to that. It's really helpful to read all these things too. And it just takes a quick moment here. And it will move up into the active services. So there we go. So I've got 2 services running. Actually, the only service that's running right now is the standard service because it is a weekday. My fast service will not kick off until this weekend. So there we go. That's how I would set up 2 services here. You can do this one. This could be actually just nightly. You can set it up for off-peak hours, etc. You can kind of do that any way you want. One other thing that we have to kind of speed things up a little bit is the ability here to kind of manipulate your SQL server. Now, this is one of those things, as you can see right here, attention, SQL manipulation is unsupported by Microsoft, but these statements can provide a significant performance improvement to Attachment Extractor. This is almost kind of a little bit like Fight Club. You just don't talk about, you don't talk about these. You don't talk about these. These are one of those things that will actually help you. So we can actually set this up beforehand if I want to run it. I can actually say, like, let's say I want to exclude emails without attachments. Okay, so I want to go ahead and go into my my SQL database and basically run the script. It's automatically going to look and see if there's attachments and pre-flag things. So it's going to make things run a lot faster. Now, you really need to know what you're doing with SQL. So basically, there's a couple checkboxes here that you understand that SQL command is not supported by Microsoft or by us, and we're not responsible for any damage done to the database or the CRM, and that is the truth, so you have to agree to that. And you also have to confirm that you've made a full backup of CRM and SQL to be able to undo any changes. You do that, and then you get the script to run on your SQL database there. and that will go through and take care of all that stuff for you, help you run that a lot quicker. So that kind of brings me to the end here of this demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and stop this service here real quick and flip back over to my slides. I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap here, some upcoming features to Attachment Extractor. Basically, one of the upcoming features is to, useless attachment deletion, what I like to call it. It adds the ability to find a max file size and to filter to permanently delete unwanted attachments. Examples of that is those annoying social media icons that you get in everybody's email. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you basically get rid of all those automatically. All goes away. The other thing is, so we're going to be adding to the analytics, basically transfer data volume for notes and attachment count workload. Basically, this is going to tell you the items which are left to process, how many items you have left to process. We're going to be adding that to it. So just want to thank you guys all for coming. Feel free to join our upcoming webinars. That would be if you go to the website, our main website, /support/webinars. It'll get you to it. Some resources, you can actually find us on the web at www.mscrm-addons.com. Our help center, which includes live chat support, that you can find at www.mscrm-addons.com/support. And the other thing is we do have an awesome blog. It's got a lot of resources on there, a lot of tips and tricks for all of our products. You can find that at blogs.mscrm-addons.com. Contact information is below. If you have any technical questions or anything like that, you can always write us at support@mscrm-addons.com. If you have any questions about pricing or things of that nature, want to place an order or something, find out how to do that, you can write us at office@mscrm-addons.com. So want to go ahead and open this up to any questions here. Going to go ahead and take a look. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look. And the first question is that I have here that hasn't been answered is from Kirk. Let's see, if you index the email body, does it pull or delete the body out of the CRM email? Well, let's see here. Let's see. Hold on one second.